Evildoers are not necessarily devoid of wisdom, but fools are often accompanied by malicious intent. Those with ill intentions are adept at concealing themselves, skillfully using fools as pawns. Meanwhile, fools, believing themselves to wield the sword of justice and uphold fairness, are always at the forefront of the struggle. Ironically, their so-called justice is but a self-made illusion. Such people often lack the ability to distinguish right from wrong, and the lines between good and evil blur in their mind, like grass swaying in the wind. They are foolish and clumsy, yet their malice is unbridled. In fact, a deep understanding of human nature reveals that fools are more troublesome than true villains. The reason is, the hostility and attacks of fools are often not motivated by offense. Many of us have likely experienced this. Our lives are peaceful, but suddenly, we are faced with unwarranted accusations and attacks from a stranger and fool. The puzzling thing is that we have never met them, have no prior experience, and no grudges against them. Yet, as if driven by some force, he acts like a judge, criticizing, slandering, and even ostracizing you. This sudden hostility may seem unprovoked, but if you understand the dark side of human nature, you'll realize these fools are mere pawns used by those with ulterior motives. They often see themselves as the embodiment of justice, so when someone tells them they're difficult, disobedient, immoral, and incompetent, they become furious. Yes, you read that correctly. They truly become enraged. First, they accept this information without any discernment. Then they transform themselves into champions of justice vowing to eradicate evil. This is precisely the root of their unprovoked attack. However, once you choose to fight back, you'll find that more and more fools join in the attack, making you the target of widespread criticism, and the previous negative rumors seem to be confirmed. Even more frightening is that the ranks of the ignorant will continue to grow, leaving you stranded and unable to defend yourself, exhausted from dealing with them. Ignorant people always believe they are kind-hearted and that everything they do is just. They are difficult to deal with precisely because they lack common sense and understanding. In their narrow mindsets, they believe they are always the best. They constantly apply double standard, viewing situations from their own perspective. It's not that they don't want to consider others, but rather that the concept simply doesn't exist. It's as if they've lived half their lives and still can't distinguish right from wrong, good from evil. In a sense, ignorant people are like people living in 2 or 3 seasons. Talking to them is like playing the lute to a cow. Even when the truth is obvious, they turn a blind eye. Facing ignorant people, you often feel powerless. If you assert yourself, they accuse you of bullying and constantly find fault with your words and actions to retaliate. If you give in, they assume you're weak and vulnerable, and become even more aggressive. In short, no matter how you deal with ignorant people, you always seem to be wrong. Their mouths are best at accusations and gossip, their fingers always pointing at others. Compared to true villains, fools are perhaps even more unscrupulous, more adept at displaying their malice to the fullest, with no boundaries. This is precisely why fools are more difficult to deal with than villains, because the foolishness and malice of fools are boundless. When dealing with the complexities of the world, we should engage in meticulous analysis, deep understanding, comprehensive analysis, and careful judgment. However, fools prematurely abandon this difficult process of deliberation, embracing laziness as a creed. Their rigid and limited thinking simply cannot accommodate the complexities that require deep thought and meticulous analysis. Instead, they resort to the most primitive and crude mental models, simplistic divisions of either-or. Anything that doesn't fit within their crude mental framework is immediately categorized as the opposite, labeled outcast or enemy. They don't seek causes or discern differences. Only instinctive, pure hostility surges forth, driving them to the most destructive actions. In their eyes, emotion replaces rational thought. Empty slogans obscure rigorous logic, and rage becomes their sole outlet. They use the most intense emotions to commit the most absurd and foolish acts. Even more tragically, fools often possess extremely fragile self-esteem. Despite their ignorance, they crave the admiration and attention of others. When this desire is unsatisfied, their most convenient response is to demean or even harm others, seeking a false sense of superiority. They use morality as a veneer to mask their hollow souls and aggressive natures. In short, when facing malicious individuals, you can employ strategies and tactics, but when facing fools, it seems you can only adopt similarly foolish method, treating them in their own way and making them realize you are not weak and vulnerable. In short, if you want to maintain your image and save face when you encounter a fool, it is almost impossible, unless you choose not to fight back. This is precisely why fools are more difficult to deal with than evil people.